The question brought to the text this day is this: YHWH, give us the latest prophecy word on the Persia, Elam, Edom war for today. In the first verse drawn, Joshua chapter 14, verse 4, does not speak of war at all. It speaks of the Levites, who received no part in the land, only cities to live in, with their suburbs for their cattle and their substance. Joshua chapter 14, verse 3, sharpens it. To the Levites, he gave no covenant inheritance among them. The lead verse repositions the one who asks before a single word about the nations is given. You're not watching this from the watchtower. You're watching it from a gate. Your portion is not territory. Your portion is YHWH himself. And the ark is named. 1 Samuel chapter 4, verse 6. They understood that the ark of YHWH was come into the camp. We revere it. We do not leverage it. The camp at Ebenezer had the ark and still fell that day. Proximity to the holy does not guarantee the answer you wanted. It guarantees only that you stand on holy ground. The verdict over this draw is lean yes, probably affirmative, with a probability of 95.5%. The claim classification is strong anomaly. All gates pass. The Dominion triad, identity, inheritance, and priesthood together, fires at 1177% above baseline, a 7 1/3 sigma event. The guided draw indicator registers an extreme anomaly. The triple convergence standard crosses threshold at 88% across all 6 channels. The polarity index leans affirmative. 4 of 12 markers survive correction. These are not decorative numbers. They confirm the text is not speaking at random. The Father's hand is in this draw. Hear what the text says within that affirmative frame. No verse in the 100 names Persia. No verse names Elam. One verse names Edom directly. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 21. Joram rose up by night and attacked the Edomites that surrounded him, and the people fled into their tents. One verse names Esau, the father of Edom. Genesis chapter 25, verse 34. Esau had scorned his birthright. The draw gives Edom's origin and its recurring defeat, and lets the pattern speak. For the imperial powers, the draw gives the grammar by which YHWH addresses every empire. 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 7. I will send a blast upon him, and he will hear a rumor, and will return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. A blast, a rumor, a homecoming that becomes an execution. The empire dies in its own house. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 18. I am slinging out the inhabitants of the land at this time, and have been an adversary to them, so that they are found out. At this time carries the weight of appointed season. Daniel chapter 5, verse 24, spoken to Belshazzar on the night the Medes and Persians took Babylon. The Elohim in whose hand your breath is, and whose are all your ways, you have not glorified. The draw places that verse here. At 7 1/3 sigma, that placement is not accidental. The war is named without softening. Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 23. They lay hold on bow and spear. They are cruel and have no covenant mercy. Their voice roars like the sea. They ride upon horses, set in array as men for war against you, O daughter of Zion. Ezekiel chapter 26, verse 8, adds the siege wall, the mound, the buckler. 1 Enoch chapter 52, verse 4. I saw a flaming fire in all the mountains. Not one mountain, all the mountains. Ezekiel chapter 19, verse 14. Fire devours the fruit, so that there is no strong rod to be a scepter to rule. And yet the draw does not leave the covenant people in panic. The timing thread governs the posture. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 8. Wait on me, declares YHWH, until the day that I rise up to the prey. The day is fixed. The command is wait. Amos chapter 5, verse 20. Will not the day of YHWH be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? Not a comfort text, a correction. Isaiah chapter 55, verse 6. Seek you YHWH while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. The window is open. It will not always be open. Enoch chapter 82, verse 20. The days of the dominion of this leader are at an end. Psalm 27, verse 3. Though an army should encamp against me, my heart will not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this I will be confident. James chapter 5, verse 11. We pronounce them blessed that endure. Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 18. Let's get up and rebuild. Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, declares YHWH of hosts. The priesthood holds it together. Numbers chapter 25, verse 13. The covenant of an age-lasting priesthood, because he was zealous for his Elohim. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. You are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a sacred association, a people for his own priestly possession. Leviticus chapter 2, verse 13. No salt of the covenant pledge of Elohim is to be lacking from your offerings. The covenant has salt. It does not decay. The nations rage. The salt holds. 3 cautions without inverting the verdict. First, the draw speaks in pattern, not in named entities and dated events. Receive the pattern. Do not fabricate the bulletin. Second, Exodus chapter 32, verse 1. Arise, fashion for us Elohim that will go before us. The golden calf. The text warns against the desire for a visible, immediate, controllable word. It gives salt, Sabbath, and the gate instead. Third, Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 13 and 14. These nations listen to conjurers and diviners. But as for you, YHWH your Elohim has not permitted you to do so. The inquiry is permitted. It is not divination. The method matters. 1 tension. The draw may be redirecting the inquirer from the war question entirely, treating the appetite for headlines as itself the thing needing correction. Under that reading, the lean yes affirms not the bulletin but the priestly vocation. That does not invert the verdict. It sharpens it. The affirmative word is real, but it is received at the altar, not at the wire service. Here is the plain answer. The war is real. Edom's hostility is the old scorn repeated. The imperial power falls by a blast, a rumor, and a sword in its own land. The ruler who has not glorified the Elohim, in whose hand is breath, will be found out. The dominion's days are an end. The day of YHWH is darkness before it is light. And you, the covenant people, are not to watch from the watchtower. You are to worship at the gate, in the Sabbaths and the new moons, as Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 3 describes. You are to gather the people, men, women, children, and the foreigner within your gates, to hear and learn and fear YHWH, as Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 12 commands. You are to wait. You are to seek. You are to endure. You are to rebuild. The word is given. It is salted. It is dark. It is sure. The ark is in the camp. Reverence, not leverage. The Levites' inheritance is YHWH. The nations rage. The salt holds. The gate stands. Delivered whole, unsoftened, as Jeremiah delivered to Johanan. Between the porch and the altar, the priests weep and say, Spare your people, O YHWH. The draw does not spare the darkness. It does not spare the hope. Both are given. Both are sure. The verses drawn in this Shield 17.14 session were Joshua chapter 14, verse 4. 1 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 55. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 6. Genesis chapter 11, verse 29. Amos chapter 5, verse 20. Exodus chapter 32, verse 1. This concludes today's interpretation under the Shield Protocol.